Have you ever wondered if there's some kind of secret connection between registering to vote and that council's tax bill that lands on your doormat? Well, you're not alone. It's a question that trips up a lot of people all over the UK. So today, we're going to clear up all that confusion once and for all with a little help from the experts at My Tax Accountant. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's kick things off with a straight-up question for you. If you pay your council tax on time every single month, does that automatically get you on the electoral register? I mean, it sounds logical, doesn't it? It's all the council. Surely they just, connect the dots? Well, the answer might just surprise you. And that's exactly why we're here. The tax specialists over at My Tax Accountant have put this guide together to walk you through it. We're going to demystify the whole thing, so by the end of this, you'll know exactly where you stand for 2026. So here's a quick peek at what we'll cover. We'll start with that big connection, or maybe disconnection, between council tax and voting. Then we'll see how they share data, what it means for your bills and discounts, and wrap it all up with a super simple action plan. All right, let's jump straight into section 1 and pull apart this very, very common myth. So here it is, the single most important thing to take away from this whole discussion. Paying your council tax does not, I repeat, does not automatically register you to vote. They are two totally separate legal duties. The council can't just see your tax payment and pop you on the voting list. The law is crystal clear. You have to register to vote yourself. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is straight from the horse's mouth. Fenland District Council puts it perfectly. The Electoral Register is a separate register. We cannot register people on their behalf. By law, people need to register themselves. You can't get much clearer than that, right? So if you've moved house recently and only sorted out the council tax, chances are you're not actually registered to vote. Okay, so if they're so separate, why are we even talking about them together? Well, just because they have different day jobs doesn't mean they operate in completely separate worlds. Let's look at why they talk to each other. It really helps to see them side by side. The Electoral Register on the left is all about democracy, making sure eligible people can vote. It's handled by the Electoral Registration Officer. Council tax over on the right is simply about money for local services. Bins, libraries, parks. It's managed by the council's billing department and applies to pretty much any adult in a property. So two very different purposes, two different sets of rules. But, and this is the crucial part, the law actually allows them to look at each other's records. Yup. The Electoral Registration Officer can check council tax data to find people who might need to register to vote. And, more importantly for your wallet, the council tax team can look at the electoral roll to double-check who's living where. It's all about making sure the information they both hold is accurate. So how does this actually happen? Is it just someone from one office nipping down the hall to ask a colleague? Not quite. Stay with me, because this next part is like getting a peek behind the official curtain. Meet the main tool in the toolbox, the National Fraud Initiative, or NFI. This isn't just a local thing. It's a huge UK-wide data matching program run by the Cabinet Office. Its whole reason for being is to spot differences in public data that could point to either fraud or just a simple mistake. Think of it as a giant automated fact checker for the public sector. The way it works is actually pretty simple. First, councils send their data, like their council tax and electoral register lists, to the NFI. Then, the system's clever algorithms get to work, comparing that data with tons of other sources, even from credit agencies like Experian. And finally, it spits out a list of matches or inconsistencies, say a house getting a single-person discount but having 2 adults on the electoral roll. That list then goes back to the council for a real person to investigate. And this is all official, documented stuff. It's not just some informal chat. What you're looking at here is a real-life agreement from Camden Council. It's called a Memorandum of Understanding, and it spells out exactly how their tax and elections teams will share data. And you can bet these kinds of agreements are in place in councils all across the country. Okay, so that's the how, but what about the why? Why does this all matter to you? Well, let's talk about the real-world impact this has on your discounts, your bills, and the bigger fight against fraud. This is probably the biggest one, the single-person discount. If you're the only adult living in your home, you're entitled to a whopping 25% off your council tax bill. That can add up to hundreds of pounds a year, and you can bet it's the #1 thing councils use the Electoral Register to check for. Let's make this real with an example. So meet Sarah from Leeds. She moves into a new flat by herself and does everything right. She gets straight onto the electoral roll. She applies for her 25% discount, which is going to save her about £450 a year. But then her first bill comes through and, oops, the discount's missing. It was just a simple data lag. But because Sarah had registered to vote, she had the proof she needed. A quick call to the council, she shows her registration, and bam, the bill is corrected. Being on top of it meant she could prove her case.
And if you think this is a small issue, get this. A report from the National Fraud Initiative found that in Wales alone, data matching uncovered £2.9 million in dodgy council tax discounts. Just in Wales. Imagine that scaled up across the whole of the UK. We're talking tens of millions of pounds, and that's exactly why councils take these checks so seriously. It protects public money for all of us.
Right, here's a quick pro tip, and this is one a lot of people miss. Just because another adult lives with you doesn't automatically mean you lose that 25% discount. Some adults are what's called disregarded for council tax. The most common example is a full-time student, but it can also be apprentices or student nurses. So if your kid is at uni but living at home, you could still be eligible for that discount. It is absolutely worth checking your local council's website for the specific rules.
Phew. Okay, we've busted the big myth, we've peeked behind the curtain, and we've seen how it all affects your bottom line. Now for the most important bit, what you need to do now. Let's finish up with your action plan.
Let's keep this super simple. Here's your 3-step plan. Number 1, update your details. If you move or someone moves in or out, get online and update your electoral registration. It literally takes 5 minutes. Number 2, review your bill. When that council tax bill arrives, actually look at it. Check you're getting all the discounts you should be. And number 3, contact your council. If you spot anything that doesn't look right, don't just put it in a drawer. Call them, explain the issue, and have your proof handy.
That's not all. Here's where most people go wrong. Ignoring this stuff can have real consequences. If you get a letter asking you to register to vote and you just ignore it, you could be hit with an £80 fine. And maybe even more important for your long-term finances, not being on the electoral register can seriously damage your credit rating. That can make it tougher to get a mortgage, a loan, or even just a new phone contract. Okay, just a quick but very important heads up. Everything we've talked about today is for general guidance to help you understand how it all works. For your specific circumstances, it's not a substitute for proper professional financial advice.
And speaking of professional advice, if you do need expert help with your council tax or any other tax puzzle, you should really get in touch with the team at My Tax Accountant. Their number is 0208-570-8531, and the email is info@mytaxaccountant.co.uk.
And finally, if you found this useful, why not subscribe to the My Tax Accountant YouTube channel for more clear, straight-talking tax guidance? And if you want to read up on this topic in more detail, just head over to their blog. Thanks so much for joining me. So, the final question is, are your details up to date?